Hooched, sitting down to talk with the inimitable Michael Berryman. Obviously, we grew up with you terrifying us very early stages. You've been in hundreds of films. I mean, just recently, I'd say, 10 in the last 2 years?
Perhaps.
And you've got like another 6 coming out this year, right?
There is a lot of films that, well, it's like this. You get a stack of scripts and it's like, oh, wow. And then the piles go over here to the soon-to-be, maybe, greenlit. When I have a plane ticket, I know, yes, now I will actually memorize my lines.
So you wait until it gets to the final steps to really pay closer attention to what you're needed in?
Well, when I first get a script, I absorb it, I get to chew on it a little bit, I really get a feel for the character, and then I call my manager and I go, yeah, tell him that, we're on board for this. And then honestly, over 40 years of this, I learned that you can't carry the enthusiasm all the way through the entire funding process because you can get really attached to something that never gets the final edit. So
you get a taste of the character, understand the character, figure out if you want to do the role, and then sort of shelve it until it's fully ready to rock, ready to go, and you know it's for sure.
Yeah, because most of the time, let's just say 50% of the time, the films don't get greenlit and you don't get to make it. And there's always projects come up between the first inception and the wrap.
Right.
So I always like to keep my creative palette kind of blank.
Okay.
So when it's time to take the input from the writer's perspective and their creative beginnings, I like to keep it fresh.
Okay. Would you say sort of like a blank slate approach where you allow yourself to be amenable to inputs? All right. Do you have a particular role that's, obviously there's so many Hills of Eyes. Do you have a role that you prefer to play? A character type?
Not really. I've played everything from a guardian angel to a devil to a cannibal to
your spectrum of talent is out of this world. That's why I was curious.
Mental patient, lobotomy, guardian angel, just westerns, even a school teacher from Smoking in the Boys' Room, which makes my ears wiggle for some strange reason. Molly Cruz, Smoking in the Boys' Room, right back at you. So I don't have any particular type of role that I prefer. There are a couple of types of roles that I will not do.
Okay.
That would be, for instance, gratuitous, heinous violence, gore for the sake of gore, brutality to the point of porn. There's some things
like torturing, gore porn.
No, I'm not interested in that at all.
Good.
Even if I have a role where I'm the bad guy, I'm the aggressor, and I get my just dessert, so to speak, I'm fine with that because I believe the hero needs an opportunity to really come to terms with the situation they're involved in. Sometimes it's due to their own behavior, their own choices, and sometimes it's not. So whatever the character requires, I like to bring it to the table for my writer and for my director. Occasionally I've had situations where the director says, well, let's do it this way, and there was one film I almost did in Wisconsin where it was kind of a rough scene with a woman, and I said, I think it has more dramatic impact if we do it after the fact as opposed to, right in your face. And they agreed. We had a contract. I get to Wisconsin. They take me straight to the set. No check-in to hotel. And they said, I thought I was just going to go meet, the crew and the cast. And they go, no, we're filming tonight. Okay. And I said, well, what scene are we doing? And it was the one that we had agreed upon. And I said, wow, we're going to do it the way we had agreed. And he goes, no, I'm going back to the original. I go, oh, really? So I said, could we have a moment? And I took out my little Sony tape recorder and I pushed play. And I says, remember when I told you I was recording our conversation? This is our conversation. That's our contract. Now, if we don't do it this way, then you pay me in full, you put me on a plane, and I go home. And I just had a conversation with the actress who was new. And honestly, anybody who knows me, I'm a straight talker, and honestly, they were taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
And we had all agreed, even when I spoke to her on the set, that the other way had more impact. It was a better story. And she thanked me later. She said, thank you. Well, long story short, I went home, I got paid. The movie never saw the light of day. They finished it. They talked her into doing it the old way. And a crew member called me up later and he said, man, it's too bad because they really turned it into a piece of garbage. So,
wow.
So I do have my limits.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your limits and you're in this industry, you're going to have a tough time.
It's very interesting seeing such a strong moral code. I mean, it's really refreshing, especially with the trend in horror these days. It's getting very gore and torture porny, and the scripts aren't as important. It's more about shock value and what have you.
I think that comes about with investors who are not into the art or the art of storytelling. They just want to shock the monkey, and they figure this will sell in other world markets or for whatever reason.
It gets a headline, whatever. It gets some,
Yeah, no such thing as bad press. I kind of disagree.
Well, I would totally agree. I disagree.
Some people want a career that's a flash in the pan, make a few bucks. Well, that's their choice. We're in a free country, but there are things I won't do. I really prefer to work very one-on-one with my cinematographer and my director, and I know my crap. I know what it means when they say cut. And I know if we've done a scene correctly to where in the editing room you can actually put these together. So those are elements I wish a lot of younger actors would learn. If you don't know what an f-stop is, you might want to find out what an f-stop is. Your cinematographer might be grateful. I'm not going to tell you now. I'm telling you to study the work of Haskell Wexler, for instance. And the list goes on. And every time I do work, I learn more, and I share with my other actors, and it's a love-love situation.
That's so wonderful.
Well, otherwise it's just not fun.
Yeah, I can see that. And especially to do it as long as you have been. You got to make it fun.
Well, I must be doing something right, because you don't get rehired if you're probably not.
Oh, you're doing something right.
I try.
From your fans, you are absolutely doing something right.
I love my fans. I've gotten wonderful emails and lovely fan mail over the many years, and it's encouraging. And thank you for writing. And it's it's a big extended family. I remember meeting Rod Serling, and I was just blown away. I was so blown away I couldn't even. Beautiful, by the way. I just finished some makeup for.
Wow, magnificent!
Awesome.
I started shooting the beginning of that.
Incredible. The finished product's written.
Yeah.
So when I met Rod Serling, I was so nervous I couldn't even barely speak to him. So my brother started the conversation by going, which made him run away. And I said, well, that's not going to work. So I stopped him at his car and I said, thank you. And he said, for what? And I said, your brain. And that didn't help. So I said, I'm nervous. And he said, when I was like 13 years old, he goes, this is Chain Smoker, Rod Serling, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Well, what's on your mind, kid? What are you trying to tell me? Think, Michael, I'm saying to myself. Come on. I go, oh, you tell good stories. And he goes, yeah? Which ones? Well, 27 minutes later, he goes, this has been great. Thank you. I have to go. So the story starts with good writing, good character development. And then either the play or the movie, comes after that.
Yeah.
And it's art is wonderful.
It's pretty awesome to go from talking to Rod Serling and now you're on the other side of the spectrum,
Yes.
having inspired, countless people over the years.
Well, he wrote stories that mattered. They had heart. They were not gratuitous. They were just wonderful. And to this day, 35 years later, they still run the series. It's
Every New Year's.
every New Year's. And there's a reason for that. So all you writers out there and storytellers, study from the masters. If you want to be a flash in the pan, go for it. But I always try to have a little bit of the art and heart in it.
Something that lasts.
Preferably.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, sir.
Well, we're having a great time at what is this?
Sacramento Twisted Terror Convention.
Twisted Terror, and you're not here. Shame on you.
Join us next year. Thank you, sir.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, man, you are wonderful.
I have fun with it.
That's